Okay, you're right. This is the next video on finding the area of a circle. So you already know what the formula is for the area of a circle, particularly if you've listened to the circle song. Pi r squared sounds like area to me. But how did that come about? So imagine we've got a circle and we cut it up. So if I had a circle, and I'm just going to do this, hold on, I'll get this. And if I make a circle, and if I then just cut this circle, so sliced it into sectors, and then just unfolded, if I just unfolded this bit, I'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 sectors. So I've cut it up, and I've got these 1, 2, 3. I'll have to go a bit further. 4. I haven't got that little bit there. And then if I unfolded the second bit, this bit here, and put it on top, oops, let's put it directly on top. And again, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this shape that I have is a parallelogram. Pretty close, and that's if I only cut it 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 4 sides, that's 8. If I cut it into 8 different sectors. Imagine if I cut it into 16 or 32 or 64. Eventually, I get something that looks like a rectangle. The more times I cut it, the more sectors I make, the more it becomes much, much more like a rectangle. Now, the area of a rectangle is base times height. So this distance times this distance. Well, this distance is half. Remember, it's only halfway. It's only half the circle. And I know all the way of the circle is pi times d, or pi times 2r. Yeah? Pi times 2 times the radius. But I only want half of that. So I'm going to divide by 2. Oh, and those 2's will cancel. So this distance here is pi times r. Now what about this distance here? Well, the more sectors I get, that's just the length of a sector. That's just one of those. And that is that distance. Oh, that's just the radius. So that's r. Now, how do I find the area of this? It's the base times the height. So the area equals the base times the height, and the base is pi r, and the height is r, pi r times r squared. And that's where it comes from. And that's what they're trying to get you there. So pi r squared sounds like area to me. So this is pretty easy now. All I need to do is find the radius and put it into my calculator. So we're meant to do questions 3, 4, and 5. So in question 3, they're just asking you to find the radius. You've just got to find the radius. So you have a go at those. Pause the video, come back. So if you've come back now, you're checking, the radius in the first one, that's the diameter. So the radius equals 1/2 times 10. Should be able to do that in your head. 5. This one, well, the radius is just 2.3. And this one, oh, they've given us the diameter again, so the radius is 1/2 times 7, which is 3.5. And that's kilometres, and that's millimetres, and that's metres. So pretty easy, that first bit. Now, let's have a look at question 4. Now there's a whole lot of circles here. Find the area of these. I've just got to check we're doing question 4, aren't we? Yep. Find the area of these. Now they're telling you to take pi as 22 on 7 or 3.14. But I'd rather you just use your calculator. It's much better if you just use your calculator. So, let's have a go at the first one, 4a. So, you don't need to draw a diagram. It is important to write the formula. Pi r squared, sounds like area to me. Pi times the radius, 7 squared. And then I just do it on my calculator. So, to get pi, remember I have to go shift pi times 7 and squared. 153.938. 153.938. And that'll be 100, if I go to the nearest one, 154. And what units are we in? Centimetre squares. Now, if you use the 22 on 7, if you use the measurement they had, area equals pi times 7 squared. Well, 22 on 7, that's what Archimedes worked out pi to be. And I go, oh, 22, I better do it as a fraction, 22 on 7 times 7 squared. 154 exactly. Centimetre squares. I'm not going to do all of them. I'm going to do F. I'm going to do F because it's a diameter and it uses 3.14. First, I'm going to just use my calculator. Pi times the radius squared. Pi times, now it's important to show how you calculate the radius. So the radius equals 1/2 times 200, which equals 100. 1/2 of 200 is 100. So pi times 100 squared, calculator. Remember, shift down here to get pi times 100 squared. Whoops, must have done something wrong. Let's try that again. Shift pi times 100 squared. Right, 31415.9. 31415.9 meters, square meters. Now, the back of the book will not have that. Why? Because in the back of the book, they said use pi as 3.14. So 3.14 times 100 squared. So 3.14 times 100 squared. 31400 square meters. Now, which one's more accurate? This one, because that only uses an approximation for pi. But that's the answer in the back of the book. I'm just checking. Yep. But I'd rather you use the actual pi on your calculator, which is what they want you to do in question 5. So I'll just do one of these from question 5. These are terribly easy. Oh no, I'll do 5a and I'll do 5d. So 5a, area equals pi r squared. So it's pi times, what's the radius? 3. squared. I go in here, clear that, get my pi by going shifting down here, times 3 squared. And they want it to 2 decimal places, so can I suggest you do this? 28.2743 dot dot dot. Now you've got to go to 2 decimal places, so you draw a line in here and you say, okay, 28.2, what's the number behind that red line? Is it 5 or more? No, so leave it alone. And what units was that in? Centimetre squares. Now, if I now jump into D, area equals pi r squared. The problem is they give me the diameter, so I have to find the radius, and the radius equals, if I look there, 1/2 times 10, which equals 5. So then I go pi times 5 squared. That line's very important in case you stuff up on your calculator. I can just use my back arrow now. Delete that, put a 5 there. 78.5398. 78.5398 dot dot dot. I've got to round to 2 decimal places, so I draw a line there. I look at the number, so 78.5. I look at the number behind the red line. Is it 5 or more? Yes, so I round this number up. What units were we in? Kilometres. And I double check. There we go. That's right. So that's finding the area of a circle. Once you have the formula, all you have to do is find the radius, and away you go. Area equals pi r squared.